Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're plunging into topics that are, well, not just shaping our world, but really redefining it. And today, we're diving deep into something that sparks both, incredible awe and, let's face it, a bit of apprehension. Artificial intelligence. Its advancements are just dizzying, happening so fast. We're seeing technology making decisions that, frankly, used to be only human territory. It's influencing everything, our news, our critical systems. So, the big question for our deep dive today is, how do we actually govern this? How do we govern AI effectively? How do we get the amazing potential benefits while, guarding against the risks? And to really get our heads around this, we're going straight to a major player, Microsoft. We're exploring their blueprint for AI governance, looking at their ideas for public policy, but also, critically, how they're trying to make responsible AI work inside their own company.
Exactly. The mission here is really to cut through all the noise and complexity. We want to give you the key pieces, the essential nuggets, so you feel properly informed on this. It's vital. We'll unpack the specific ideas for laws, for regulations, and give you a real insight into how a company like Microsoft is trying to build and use AI responsibly, like right now.
Okay, let's get into it. When you think about the impact AI is having already, models like OpenAI's GPT-4, they've really surprised people, right? Astounded them even. And the potential for good, it's just huge. Really transformative stuff.
Oh, definitely. We're seeing examples, AI helping save eyesight, speeding up cancer research.
Predicting dangerous weather, fighting off cyber attacks, even helping kids with algebra homework.
Right, and Microsoft even compares its potential impact on learning and thinking to something like the printing press.
Wow. That's a huge claim, a fundamental shift.
It is. But here's the crucial counterpoint. We can't only focus on the upsides. That's a lesson we should have learned. Think about social media. Remember the Arab Spring? It was hailed as this amazing tool for democracy.
Yeah, I remember that optimism.
But then, just a few years later, we saw it being used against democracy, weaponized. So the source puts it nicely. We're 10 years older and wiser. We need to think really clearly right now about the potential problems with AI before they get too big to handle.
That really brings us to what Microsoft sees as the absolute foundation. Their sort of non-negotiable principle, accountability.
Accountability.
They're saying machines have to stay under effective human oversight, period. And the people designing them, operating them, they have to be accountable. AI has to remain under human control. That's the line.
And that connects directly to the rule of law, doesn't it? In our societies, no person, no government, no company, and definitely no technology should be above the law.
Right.
So the question becomes, how do governments make sure AI systems and the people behind them are actually subject to legal accountability? And that's really what Microsoft's proposed blueprint tries to answer.
Okay, so accountability is the bedrock. How do you turn that into actual policy? What's the plan? Microsoft has this 5-point blueprint for public policy, law, regulation, built on what they've learned. What's step one?
Okay, point one is about implementing and, crucially, building upon new government-led AI safety frameworks. They specifically point to the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST.
NIST, right. I've heard about their AI risk management framework.
Exactly. It was just finished. Think of it like a detailed guide, a set of practices to help organizations manage AI risks proactively, promote trustworthy AI.
So making safety measurable, auditable, like in other regulated areas.
Precisely. And Microsoft is committing to using the NIST framework internally. They're also adding extra steps to their AI testing, like red teaming. That's basically hiring independent experts to try and break the AI, find flaws, not just security flaws, but harmful outputs too.
Like bias or generating bad content.
Exactly. And they're also working on specific metrics just for generative AI. For governments, they suggest things like an executive order, requiring vendors of critical AI systems to confirm they're using the NIST framework, and setting up a dedicated NIST office to help push adoption, develop resources, train people.
A structured framework makes sense. Okay, point two involves something maybe more visceral, safety breaks.
Yes, safety breaks.
For AI controlling critical infrastructure. It makes me think of like old Elisha Otis in his elevator brake demo.
Hi, yeah, cutting the rope.
Or circuit breakers, emergency brakes on buses, collision avoidance on planes. That runaway train analogy for AI feels apt here.
It does, and they're clear. Not all AI needs this level of scrutiny. The focus is on systems controlling, say, the power grid, water supplies, city traffic.
High-stakes stuff where failure is catastrophic.
Exactly. So they propose 4 steps for government. First, define clearly what counts as high-risk AI. Large-scale, networked physical interaction, autonomous potential for harm.
Got it. Define the scope.
Second, Require developers to build these safety brakes in from the start. The system needs to be able to spot problems, stop itself, disengage. Human interaction design is key.
Built in, not built it on.
Third, make sure operators test and monitor these systems constantly. Keep humans in the loop and in control. And fourth, a really interesting one, require these high-risk systems be deployed only in licensed AI data centers.
Licensed data centers, like an extra layer of control.
Yeah, a second layer of protection for human oversight, as they put it. Checks and balances at multiple points.
And that point about human control.
Yeah.
What about the sci-fi scenario? AI overriding its controls.
Well, they do mention tests on current models like GPT-4 and Claude by the Alignment Research Center. The conclusion for now is that today's models don't seem to have that kind of capability, but
we need to keep researching it urgently.
absolutely, it's a critical area for ongoing work.
Okay, so we have frameworks, safety brakes. It feels like layers of responsibility.
Yeah.
Which leads nicely to point 3. A broader legal and regulatory framework based on the AI's technology architecture, the tech stack approach. What does that mean for regulation?
Right, this is quite pragmatic. They see AI systems as having different layers, like a stack. Applications, APIs, the big models, the software, the data center hardware.
Okay.
And the idea is that regulation should match the layer. So at the top, the applications layer, AI in your banking app or HR software. The focus there should be on applying existing laws. Anti-discrimination laws, for example.
So use the laws we already have, but apply them smartly to AI.
Exactly. Agencies, courts, they need to build up expertise. Microsoft says they'll help customers with best practices here. Then you move down to the model layer, those really powerful foundation models like GPT-4. Here, they think we do need new laws, possibly even licensing for these highly capable models.
Licensing, like OpenAI's Sam Altman suggested.
Yes, Microsoft endorses that idea. The tricky part is defining highly capable. Is it about the computing power used or what the model can actually do?
Good question.
The goals for licensing would be things like safety, coordinating development, and importantly, international cooperation. Because model weights, the core AI can be copied anywhere, instantly.
Global challenge.
Definitely. And finally, the infrastructure layer. The data centers themselves, they propose licensing these as another key control point. And this is where they introduce KY3C.
KY3C, like KYC in banking. Know your customer.
Kind of, yeah. Adapted for the cloud. It stands for Know Your Cloud, Know Your Customer, Know Your Content.
Okay, break that down.
Know Your Cloud. Developers need to know where their powerful models are being built and run. Know your customers. Cloud providers need to know who is using their platforms for potentially sensitive AI applications. And know your content. The public needs to know when content, video, audio is AI generated. Labeling. To fight deepfakes.
Know your content.
Yeah, that feels incredibly vital right now. Distinguishing real from fake is getting harder, which ties into their fourth point, doesn't it? Promoting transparency and ensuring access for researchers and nonprofits.
It does. They admit there's a tension, security versus transparency, but some areas need full transparency. So Microsoft is committing to annual transparency reports. They support the idea of a national registry for high-risk AI systems.
Like the one Amsterdam has for algorithms.
Exactly like that. And making sure AI systems tell you you're talking to an AI and what its limits are.
And the labeling again.
Yes. Know your content comes back here. Labeling images from Microsoft Designer, Bing Image Creator, making it clear it's AI generated.
Yeah.
Then there's the access issue. Building and running these big models is expensive. Academics, nonprofits often can't afford it.
Right, the compute costs are huge.
Right.
So Microsoft commits to supporting things like the National AI Research Resource, NARA. They're doing a pilot project. They're also increasing funding for academic programs, giving researchers API access to models, and creating free or low-cost AI tools for nonprofits through Microsoft Philanthropies. It's about widening access, but responsibly.
Democratizing the tools.
Okay.
What's the fifth and final point in this public governance blueprint?
The final piece is pursuing new public-private partnerships, basically teaming up. They believe collective action is essential. They point to examples like the Christchurch call.
After the New Zealand attack, right?
Yeah.
Getting tech companies and governments to tackle violent extremist content online.
Yes. And also how tech companies and NGOs helped Ukraine defend against cyber attacks. Teamwork made a real difference. They see the same potential for fighting AI misuse, especially deepfakes and coordinated disinformation campaigns. So they co-founded this group, the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity, C2PA.
C2PA, Adobe, BBC, Intel are in that too, right?
That's right. Microsoft, Sony, Trupic too. It's cross-industry. They're creating standards for digital content credentials, like a verifiable label showing where content came from and if it's been altered. And Microsoft is actually rolling out a new service based on this C2PA standard at their Build conference. It embeds metadata into AI-generated images and videos for verification.
Putting the standard into practice.
Exactly. The message is, tackling this requires big thinking, bold action, and everyone, governments, companies, civil society working together.
Okay, that's a comprehensive look at their public policy proposals, a 5-point plan. But now, let's shift focus. How does Microsoft manage this internally? What does responsible by design actually look like on the ground? It sounds like it's been a journey for them.
It really has. You can trace it back. Satya Nadella started talking about this vision back in 2016. Then in 2017, they set up their Aether Committee. That's their internal ethics advisory group.
Aether.
2018 saw them adopt their core AI principles: fairness, accountability, transparency, etc. Then things formalized more in 2019 with the Office of Responsible AI. That led to their first responsible AI standard, which they updated to version 2 in 2022. So you see this evolution from principles to concrete standards.
And how many people are actually working on this now?
Today, it's nearly 350 employees focused on responsible AI, over a third of them full-time. That's a serious investment.
Wow, 350 people, that's significant. So what's the structure? How does that governance work day to day?
Well, it starts right at the top. A clear mandate from leadership, Satya Nadella, Brad Smith. Then you have core teams in engineering, research, policy, all essential. But a key part, I think, is their network of responsible AI champions.
Champions, embedded in the teams.
Exactly. Embedded right in the product, engineering, even sales teams. They're the liaisons, the advocates, making sure our AI principles are considered throughout the development process.
Kind of like ambassadors on the inside.
Sort of, yeah. Then, for high-level alignment, there's the Responsible AI Council, co-chaired by Brad Smith and Kevin Scott, the CTO. And ultimately, there's oversight from a committee of the Microsoft board, so it plugs into their overall risk management. It's layered.
Layers again. It seems to be a theme. Okay, so the responsible AI standard, that's the rule book the engineers use.
It's more than a rule book, it's the operational framework. Translating those high-level principles, fairness, accountability, into concrete guidance for the engineering teams. It breaks down like this. Principles lead to goals. Goals require specific requirements, and those are met using tools and practices.
Okay, practical.
And a core part of the practice is this cycle. Identify potential harms, measure them, and mitigate them. Iterative red teaming is a big part of that identify step, especially for the big language models, the LLMs.
And that red teaming isn't just about finding security holes, right?
No, exactly. For LLMs, it's also about probing for harmful outputs. Does it generate hate speech, incite violence, produce inappropriate content? They actively try to make it fail safely. Then they use those findings to improve the mitigations. They've done this extensively for things like the Azure OpenAI service and the new Bing.
Proactive testing,
Yeah.
okay. And you mentioned checks and balances. They have something called the Sensitive Uses Program. What's that about?
Right, sensitive uses. Think of it as an extra review loop, an additional layer of scrutiny for AI applications that are considered high impact or carry higher risks.
Higher risk, like what?
Situations where the AI could seriously affect someone's legal rights, their job prospects, their access to essential services.
Life opportunities.
Exactly. Or if there's a risk of significant physical or psychological harm or infringing on basic human rights. They've actually done over 600 of these reviews since 2019. And the pace is picking up almost 150 in just the last 11 months or so.
That's a lot of reviews. Can you give an example?
Sure. A well-known one is Microsoft declining to provide real-time facial recognition technology for police body cameras. They decided the tech wasn't ready, and more importantly, society hadn't had the necessary debate. The laws weren't in place. So they said, no, not yet.
Drawing a line based on societal readiness.
Another example is how they handle their Azure Custom Neural Voice service, the tech that creates synthetic voices. They built in really strict controls. Explicit speaker consent is required, technical limits on how it can be used, but they also enable beneficial uses like voice banking for people with conditions like ALS who might lose their voice. They can create a synthetic version while they still can speak.
Balancing risk mitigation with enabling positive uses.
Right. And for some sensitive AI platform services, they have a limited access policy. Customers have to apply, explain their use case, and agree to specific acceptable uses. Another control layer.
Okay, let's make this concrete with the product everyone's heard about. The new Bing, powered by GPT-4. How did the responsible AI approach apply there?
Bing is a great case study. It uses these very advanced models, so the RAI process was crucial. First, identify. They did tons of red teaming both at the underlying model level, GPT-4, and the Bing application level, trying to surface potential harms, misuse scenarios.
Finding the problems before users do.
Then measure. They actually developed new metrics specifically for generative AI harms, things like jailbreaks.
Jailbreaks,
Oh.
like tricking the AI.
Yeah, trying to get it to bypass its safety rules and generate harmful or forbidden content. Also, metrics for factually incorrect or ungrounded content. And they built automated systems to track these metrics.
So quantifying the risks.
Then mitigate. They took several steps. A phased rollout, starting with a preview, let them learn from real user interactions. They use AI classifiers and sophisticated meta-prompting, basically. Hidden instructions for the AI on how to behave to filter out problematic content.
Guiding the AI's responses.
They made sure to ground Bing's answers and search results, providing citations telling users clearly they're interacting with an AI and should double-check important information.
Managing expectations.
They even put limits on how long a single chat session could go on to reduce the chances of the conversation going off the rails into weird territory. Multiple disclosures throughout the experience.
A whole suite of mitigations. It sounds like procedures and standards are key, but what about the people? The company culture, how important is that?
Oh, culture is huge. Absolutely critical. You can have all the standards in the world, but if the culture doesn't support it. Microsoft talks about investing in talent, those 350 people, and fostering a socio-technical lens.
Socio-technical meaning?
Meaning looking beyond just the tech, understanding how AI interacts with society, culture, politics, considering the context. And a massive part of that is diversity and inclusion. The source highlights data, I think, from McKinsey showing the AI field is still overwhelmingly white and male.
Yeah, that's a known issue. Creates blind spots.
Exactly. You need diverse perspectives to spot potential biases and build AI that works for everyone. Microsoft emphasizes embedding RAI ownership in all roles, not just the specialists. Training helps, like using their impact assessment templates, making experts accessible, encouraging collaboration between researchers, policy folks, engineers.
Breaking down silos.
And they're looking globally, too. Things like working with UNESCO in Latin America, running fellowship programs that include people from developing countries, trying to make it inclusive.
Building that culture takes time and effort. And finally, how do they help their customers? Not everyone has 350 RAI experts. How do they empower others?
That's a key part of their strategy, sharing what they learn and providing tools. They publish transparency documentation, like transparency notes for Azure AI services. These explain capabilities, limitations, intended uses, performance.
Helping customers understand the tools they're using.
Right. And they offer practical tools, many open source, like FairLearn for assessing fairness, Interpret ML for understanding model behavior, all part of their responsible AI toolbox. There's also Azure Content Safety for detecting harmful user-generated or AI-generated content. These tools are integrated into their Azure machine learning platform via a responsible AI dashboard, making them easier to use.
So, putting the tools in the developer's hands. Any examples of customers using these?
Yeah, there's a good one in the source about the Northumbria Healthcare NHS Trust in the UK. They used Azure Machine Learning and the RAI tools to build a model predicting surgery risks for individual patients. And the interpretability tools helped them understand why the model made certain predictions. They discovered platelet count was a much bigger risk factor than they'd previously thought for certain complications.
Wow. So it helped them refine their own medical understanding.
Exactly. It led to better informed conversations with patients about their specific risks and even identified things patients could do pre-surgery to lower their risk. Better, more equitable outcomes.
That's a powerful example. And they make resources publicly available.
Yes, lots of resources at aka.msdrive if you want to dig deeper yourself.
Okay, so it's clear. Governing AI, it's not a simple task. It's a complex, ongoing journey. Constant learning, continuous adaptation needed.
Absolutely. Both inside companies and across society. It's not like there's a finish line you cross and say, okay, AI governance, done. It's an evolving process.
The technology keeps changing so fast.
Which is why the call to action is so strong. For industry, governments, academics, civil society, everyone needs to be part of this conversation, defining the boundaries together. It really is about collective action to make sure AI serves humanity's best interests. Not just hoping it will, but actively shaping it that way.
So as we wrap up, we've talked about building these complex governance systems, these frameworks, these breaks, these layers of control. But given how dynamic AI itself is, what about the unforeseen consequences? the second-order effects of our attempts to govern it? Could our efforts to control AI create new, unexpected challenges? And how do we build governance that's flexible enough, adaptable enough to anticipate and respond to those surprises that are surely coming?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you regulate something that learns and evolves?
Something definitely to keep pondering as AI continues its breakneck pace of change.